Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Phillip Stattler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Phillip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
Resolutions are easy to make and even easier to break. And whether you're ready to start 2021 off with a bang or you're still just reeling from everything that 2020 brought us, it is time to look ahead and think about practical goals for the new year and beyond. And if you could use some guidance on creating and sticking to your financial goals, the number for you to take down right now is 863-285-3815, so you can reach Phillip Stattler for some help. You can call that number at any time or connect online at StatlerFinancial.com. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I'm Jen Rezac alongside Phillip Stattler, and here we are again, another new year. It's kind of hard to believe that we're talking about resolutions again already, isn't it?
It is, and especially after the year we've had, because I know that a lot of folks had issues trying to get through their resolutions this year just because of all the COVID and just all the hassles that brought, that I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that were really frustrated with keeping a positive mind and positive attitude as they went through this year. And I know a lot of folks are looking forward to getting into a new year.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I've been thinking on this about resolutions and that type of thing, Phillip, because we do talk about this every year. We talk about setting goals and resolutions. And I wonder how many people are just kind of recycling their 2020 resolution for 2021. I know I certainly am. Some of the goals I had for reading, for example, some different personal development and professional development, that stuff kind of got tossed aside when I was having to step in and be a substitute teacher a little bit more for my kids. I was not worried too much about myself, you
Yeah, there's some times in there where, it got tough because you have to battle some depression and I'm sure I'm like most people and that you just have some bad days in a row and it just kept multiplying.
Yeah.
And you had to take a minute and look up and think how blessed we are, no matter what circumstance we're in. We're so much more blessed than other nations and other countries and a lot less fortunate folks than we are.
Yeah, and that is certainly something to keep in mind and to keep that perspective. And, Phillip, just kind of looking back on the last year, are there any financial... Well, first, let me ask you this. Do you have new, fresh resolutions for 2021, or are you going to be recycling anything from 2020 and trying again? What are you hoping to accomplish this year?
I'm going to be a little bit more definitive in my goals. I had a weight goal last year, and for a while I was there. But COVID just kept...
It's not helpful.
hitting. And finally I just relented,
Right.
And that's not what you're supposed to do. So we are. So I'm looking at, and I've kind of reframed that goal, right? It was a weight goal, but now I've kind of got it more as a health and fitness goal. So weight is obviously a part of that to get down to where I want to be. But then, your BMI and your, how much fat content and those type of things do you have? I'm going to look at it more as a holistic approach this year and put more of those sub goals in there that I'm trying to meet this next year as I get closer and closer to that 60 number.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer.
Yeah. And I think that is really important when you talk about how you are laying out those goals and just being specific with it in some areas, but also thinking about it more than just here's a number of my weight. Here are some other ways to look at that. I think that can be kind of useful if we're trying to set financial goals, Phillip. Would you talk a little bit about how we are actually phrasing those and how do we define success? And the other thing I'll tell you, when I look back at my goals for last year, The ones that I accomplished were the ones that I stated out loud, and I had somebody to help kind of hold me accountable toward those goals. One of my goals for 2020 was to run a half marathon, and I said it out loud, and I had people asking me questions about how it was going and how are you training and all of those things. And I was able to do that because I had people holding me accountable. My reading goal, for example, I didn't ever say that out loud to anybody. It was just something I was thinking about, and I sure blew that one off and didn't do it. So
didn't get that one done, huh?
Right. So, I mean, and the same thing is true with our financial goals. If we don't communicate that, if we don't share with our spouse or with, whoever's helping us with our plan, what we're hoping to do, I don't know how likely we are to actually get there with those goals.
Well, that's true, Jen. I mean, I have a friend of mine that he says, and I haven't gotten to this point yet, but I always have written goals. My goals are always written. Just like any business owner, I've got business goals and revenue goals and new client goals and all those type of things, and they're written down. We write them down. Now, what he does is he literally writes his main goals every day.
Wow.
He writes them down every day. These are my top 5 goals. I haven't gotten there yet, but I find that interesting because he says that helps keep them top of mind for him. That's what he needs to accomplish. And you're right, not just writing them down, but letting somebody else know what those goals are to help keep you accountable. So what might some of your financial goals be this year? If you're getting close to retirement, there's a couple, Jen, that I can think of off the top of my head that would be huge benefits if they could accomplish that. And one would be you want to head into retirement as close to, if not there, debt-free.
Okay.
That's just a big deal. And so that needs to be on your radar screen as a goal. If you're 10 years out from retirement, to start working on that goal and working those debts down. And obviously the second main goal I would look at is the opposite of that, right? And that's accumulating, not amassing more debt, accumulating 401k money, right? Or retirement money, or putting more money away, however and wherever you want to do that. But let's make a focused effort to, let's set a goal. How much are you going to put away? And it needs to be something that makes you work at it, not just something that's, I'm just going to put this in because it's easy, I can do it. What do you need to put in to have a successful retirement? What does that look like? And the problem is you don't know what that is until you actually have a plan in place to be able to do that. And that's one of the things that I believe in a lot, and that's having a retirement income plan. Because if I have a retirement income plan, then I know how much I need to put away for retirement, because I know what it's going to take to create the income I need year in and year out. And so that's one of the things that we do here at Statler Financial is help folks put together that retirement income plan. Most of the folks I sit down with don't have one, never heard of one, don't know what I'm talking about. And so don't be one of those people. Have a retirement income plan in place. And it's easy to do. All you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815 to schedule your retirement income plan appointment. And it's a great way to start off the year, Jen.
It really is. 863-285-3815. And I want to talk a little bit about, when you talk about putting together those plans, one of the issues as we incorporate that into our conversation about resolutions and setting goals, New Year's resolutions tend to be kind of short-sighted, and I think we go too big too quick, and that's why we fizzle out a lot of times. We get a little bit too lofty with that. Talk a little bit about how when you're helping someone create a plan, you help them focus on long-term goals, and you help them be a little bit more reasonable about how we get there, instead of setting this massive goal and say, okay, by the end of a month, I'm going to do, this big crazy thing that just isn't realistic.
Well, that's true, Jen. That's a good point. And we try to look, what is the goal? And it may be a huge goal, it may be a big goal, but that goal is not going to happen in 30 days, right? That's something that, okay, we got this big goal down here that we want to accomplish by the time we retire. Maybe that's 5 years, maybe that's 10 years. Well, then you take that goal and we break it into little goals, right? The little milestones that we need to hit on an annual or quarterly basis. And what is that going to look like? And so we'll help when we're doing that, when we're in that process, is help keep folks accountable, right? We'll do a monthly or quarterly phone call. Say, okay, look, where are we at? Let's look at this whole scenario. How well are you doing at getting this annual goal together? And if you're not there, if we're having problems, what do we need to do? Did we set the wrong goal for this period? Or are there some things that I can help them to accomplish and really hold their feet to the fire to meet that goal that they're trying to hit?
Yeah, and again, that's that act of helping hold someone accountable. But sometimes, Phillip, one of the other things here, our goals and priorities end up changing. This has happened before with my husband and me, where we have set a goal toward something and we start working toward it, and then halfway there is when we realize this isn't actually what we wanted. We're working so hard toward this, but this isn't really what we wanted. And we end up changing things a little bit. Talk a little bit about how you help someone make adjustments to their retirement plan when that type of thing happens. Either life throws a curveball and it needs to change, or just something has changed with them internally and the priorities have shifted.
Well, let me just give you, I think that's just something we talk through. And by having that regular conversation, that kind of comes about, right? We understand, and it gives me an opportunity to really ask the question that, is that really that important to you? Just for example, this last year with COVID hitting, that was a huge curveball.
Yeah.
A huge curveball. Right. And, we had some pretty lofty goals in terms of being able to really kind of pay down or pay off some short-term debt that we had for various business reasons. And that was important to me. But when COVID hit, it became, okay, I can let that goal go for a year because it's more important to focus on serving my clients,
right,
and making sure that their head's in the right place, and then making sure that we are going to keep our doors open, whatever that means, right? So instead of doing that, we end up saving all we could save, so that we would be able to make sure that we could get through this impactful year and still be here. And so things like that happen, and we do have to call audible and make those changes. And that's why I feel like, we're really more of a financial coach to our clients, a retirement coach, to help them get through and get really to retirement, right? That 10 years prior to retirement. And then after retirement, making sure that they live the retirement life they always dreamed of. Look, if that's you, if you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have a retirement coach, somebody that really does pour into your life and help you accomplish the goals that you're looking to accomplish, give us a call. We'd love to be that person for you. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Hey, or you can go to my website, statlerfinancial.com. I've got a link to my calendar there where you can schedule a time that's convenient for you. Hey, looking forward to seeing you. Give me a call again, 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. If you owe $26.5 trillion and you didn't have the money to pay it off, what would you need to do? Well, you'd need to make a lot more money, right? Well, now America's debt is more than $26.5 trillion, and right now taxes are at historically low levels. It doesn't take a genius to realize taxes will probably go up. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are low, or later when rates are much higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Phillip Stattler and the team at Statler Financial Services know what to look for. Plan now. Phillip can help you create a plan so your retirement is as tax efficient as possible. Call 863-285-3815 to set up a visit with Phillip Stattler and Statler Financial Services. When taxes go up, will you be ready? 863-285-3815. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Statler Financial Services may not give tax advice.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Phillip Stattler. He's president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And Phillip, we have some good news to share as it relates to retirement planning. The number of protected households in the U.S. is on the rise. This is according to the Alliance for Lifetime Income's Protected Lifetime Income Study. So let's clarify something here, Phillip. When we talk about protected households, we're talking about families who have something like a pension or an annuity to supplement what they'll get from Social Security in retirement. Can you talk about why it's so important that we find a way to get that protected income for our retirement?
Well, Jen, when you think about it, that protected income is income that's going to be there no matter what. And so that's why it's called protected income, right? So that's so important that we have that, because that allows us then to build a budget, to build an income plan and use that as a source of income. It allows you to rely less on your own portfolio and be able to use that for what I call the fun stuff, the toys and that kind of stuff in retirement. If you've got protected income that will cover pretty much all your living expenses and those type of things, then that allows you to really use what you've saved for retirement. I call for the fun stuff, Jen.
Well, there you go. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is having something for the fun stuff. Now let's help people understand a little bit more about whether or not their retirement income is protected. There might be times when they're putting their money somewhere and they think it is protected. What are some common places we might put our retirement money that aren't actually as protected as we might think?
So there's a few things that, and this may sound kind of out there a little bit, but actually, when you put money into a CD at the bank, people think they're protected, and don't get me wrong, it is protected. You can still see money slip away, right? Because inflation, taxes, all those things pull at that. So that's one area where I think people think they're protected and they're really not protected for the long term. The other area is people think that they're protected because they have a portfolio of bonds, or they have a portfolio of dividend paying stocks, or they have a real estate investment trust. They feel like they're protected because they have an income stream. And though they may be somewhat protected, that principal can disappear. Those bonds, can go out of business. That stock can stop paying a dividend. That real estate investment trust can cut its dividend. I've seen it happen. So, and then a lot of times have a misconception that, they've got a variable annuity that's protected income. And it's, it's a little gray area that as to how much is really protected and what does that mean? Because the value in that account can go down. And my opinion now is that if it can go down, if your principal can go down backwards, then it's really not a protected account. And so we need all kinds of tools within our portfolio. But when we're looking at income and we're looking at a protected income value, that means that that's money that we know we're going to get it really for the rest of our lives. And so that's an area that I think that people have a misconception. They have a stock portfolio that they've got really balanced really well. And they feel like it may not be protected, but they feel like they can't lose enough for it to be affect their income. And that's just a big misconception that I think too many people have out there. And that's why I just think that a retirement income plan is so necessary, that we have one of those in place. And like I've said in many shows in the past, is that not many people really have them. And when I sit down with retirees, I'm going to say less than 10% of the folks I see actually have a written retirement income plan in place.
Wow.
And so to me, that's just so important that they have that in place. If you're 10 years out from retirement, or even if you've already retired and you don't have a written retirement income plan, I'm not talking about a financial plan, I'm talking about a written retirement income plan, give me a call and let's go through that process and build one for you. 863-285-3815. To get started right now, just give me a call at 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Phillip Stattler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. I am Jen Rezac alongside. So, Phillip, according to this study, it's 40% of households have protected income. That's great, but that means 60% of households do not. So I want to talk to those people right now. What challenges might they be facing if their retirement income is maybe money instead of protected income?
One of the things that we look at, Jen, when we put together our retirement income plans is just that, the protected income bucket. So what people have to do is, if you don't have a pension, if you're just relying on Social Security, it kind of goes back to that three-stool approach, right? We always had a three-legged stool, and one leg was Social Security income, one leg was pension income, and one leg was your own income from your own investments that you had saved. And that, unfortunately, we've gone down to a two-legged stool now, where a lot of folks, like 60% of the folks out there, don't have a pension. So that means that you are responsible for creating your own pension. And so part of the income planning we do is helping people look at options out there that would allow them to kind of create their own pension that's going to provide them with a lifetime amount of income.
Yeah, just something that they need to be thinking about. And if we're interested in a source of protected income in retirement, the other challenge, Phillip, is we still need to figure out what the right option is for our family, because there's no one-size-fits-all solution here. There's no one answer for every person or every family that you deal with. Can you do something like an annuity analysis for us, or how do you help somebody figure out if they're using the right tool or what the right tool really is for their family?
Well, a lot of that is accomplished, Jen, again, I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes, through our retirement income planning process,
Okay.
Where we'll look to see, where do annuities fit in? Because remember, annuities were designed to create income for lifetime. And so now they have evolved into other types of vehicles and other uses for those vehicles, but they still serve that main function of providing income. And so we look at that, and we look at annuities from that perspective. Where does it fit in for you in your planning process? Now, to make sure that you're going to have the income you need for the rest of your life. And that's where annuities really play in. And just like all financial tools, whether it be the stock market, the bonds, real estate investment trust, annuities, they all have their pluses and minuses, right? Mm-hmm. And so with the annuity, you're getting protection of your principal, but at a cost, right? You don't have access to that money. There's surrender charges. You have them for 5, 7, or 10-year periods of time. But the amount of money you put in them is protected. Whereas the stock market, hey, there's no protection on the downside, but you can get your money whenever you want to if it's still there after the market crashes, right? So there's pluses and minuses in every tool that we use within our planning process. And when we do that, when we lay out that retirement income plan, we lay out each tool that we're going to use and the pluses and minuses. We want everybody to be really understanding and cognizant of what we're using, and we're very transparent about how they all work together and what the pros and cons are of each of those tools that we're using, Jen.
Phillip, talk a little bit about how, we don't want to forget Social Security as part of this discussion on retirement income as well. I know when we talk about protected income, we're talking about things other than just Social Security, but making sure that our income will last also involves making the right decisions with Social Security. Talk a little bit about how we need to think about our entire income picture before we decide when to start claiming those Social Security benefits.
That's ideal, right? That's ideal that you come to me before you make that decision of when you're going to take Social Security. But it doesn't mean that if you've already made that decision that I can't help you, right? I want to make sure that's clear. But part of our process when we develop that retirement income plan, if somebody has not elected to take Social Security yet, is actually that process of determining when is the best time, what makes the most sense for them, not only on a claiming basis, but also as a beneficiary basis, right? Because a lot of times we look at that and say, okay, and I'll just pick on the husband, because usually the husband's the first one to pass away just because we're men and statistically we're going to die first, right? Right. So what if we have to leave that benefit to our spouse? What's going to be the best thing for them? And so we weigh in on that issue also. And people don't think about that. They don't think about Social Security as a benefit I'm leaving to a spouse when I die. And so that's an area that I think gets missed a lot when we're talking about income and when should we take Social Security and when not. Because if we have a husband and wife, we can use two different strategies, one for him and one for her. And a lot of times we do in that process. So I think that's it is important. It's a big decision when you're going to take Social Security if you've not done that yet. And so we like to help our clients walk through that process to show them the options and what it can mean to them long term when it comes to income planning and that front of things. So, folks, again, we keep coming back around to this, but if you're one of those 90% of the folks out there really that don't have a retirement income plan, or you're one of those 60 people out there that don't have protected income coming your way at retirement, then I can't tell you and stress enough how important it is to have a retirement income plan in place, a written retirement income plan. Give me a call right now and let's schedule a time that I can help walk you through that process. 863-285-3815. Again, that number is 863-285-3815. I'd love to sit down with you and start that conversation. You can go to my website, statlerfinancial.com. There's a link to my calendar right there. You can pick a time that's convenient for you. I look forward to seeing you. Give me a call again to start that process, 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We'll be back.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Weddings, sports, vacations. Just about everything this year has been pushed back, shortened, or canceled. Now think about your retirement. You can't cancel it. You probably don't want to shorten it, but do you need to push it back? Phillip Stattler and the team at Statler Financial Services can help make sure your retirement dreams are still on track. Phillip and his team have been helping families just like yours retire no matter what the situation is for more than 20 years. They can help design a plan so that whenever you are ready to retire, your retirement is there waiting for you. Take control of your retirement today. Call Phillip Stattler and the Statler Financial Services team. Do it now, 863-285-3815. Don't cancel, shorten, or push back your retirement dreams. Plan now so you can do all the things you've always wanted to do when you want to do them. 863-285-3815. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida.
Thanks Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Phillip Stattler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And Phillip, the Alliance for Lifetime Income, their protected lifetime income study shows the number of households that have a source of protected income, like a pension or an annuity, is on the rise. But it also shows only about a third of pre-retirees have calculated their monthly expenses and financial needs. A lot of people are overestimating what their retirement savings will cover, and 3 out of 4 Americans still don't have a specific financial plan. So there's some work to be done here. Let's start with why it's important to figure out your monthly expenses before you retire, and how do you approach that?
You know, Jen, it's one of the things that nobody likes to do. It's amazing how many of those expenses are written on my ceiling up above. You know, they look up and they come up with a number, right? So I encourage them to really go back through their checkbook, their credit card statements, and let's be realistic. Let's not just pick a number, off the ceiling and throw it in there, because the more exact they are on what those numbers are going to look like, the better we'll be able to put together an income plan that's going to address those expenses. And so that's one of the things we need to look at. And I don't want somebody to be over exaggerated, right? I don't want you to give me higher expenses than what you already have. I want to know what they are. And then we'll have that conversation of, okay, in retirement, do you think this will be more or less? Because I want a realistic number when people hit retirement. And then we can apply some inflation numbers and factors to those numbers and really dive deep to come up with an income plan that's going to work for them in retirement.
Okay, so we do need to take a deep dive here. We need to make sure that we do have a good handle on those numbers. And another key finding from this study is that many people are overestimating what their savings will cover. Either they think their expenses are just going to be less, or they're just thinking that it will last longer. What do we do to make sure we aren't making too many assumptions with how long our savings will last?
Well, again, I think that comes into the income planning process. But I'll say this too, is that, a lot of times people underestimate what their expenses are going to be in retirement. I tell people, look, if you're earning $100,000 today and you're not saving a huge chunk of that, then you're probably going to need close to $100,000 when you retire, right? So your expenses may actually go up in retirement, and people don't realize that. I mean, obviously, fixed costs won't go up much, but the other costs will, right? The travel, to go and see the grandkids, to go cruising. Well, it's kind of hard to cruise now, but all those other things that are out there that they may want to do, it is going to be an issue, and so we just want to be as realistic as possible, so we can create what we need to create.
Yes, being realistic, that is an important part of this. And there's just so much that a lot of people don't understand as it relates to thinking through all of this. I mean, the study says 3 out of 4 Americans still don't have a specific financial plan. I'm guessing, Phillip, a lot of people aren't quite sure what we mean when we talk about having a plan for your retirement. I know we've talked a little bit about budgeting and kind of having an idea of what our expenses will be, but can you explain, because it's more than that, can you explain what all goes into a comprehensive retirement strategy?
Yes, it is. You're right. It is more than just that. It's looking at budget's part of that, right? Coming up with that budget, then looking at how much are we saving now? What are we really going to need? What do they want to do in retirement? What are their plans in retirement? What's retirement going to look like for them? Is it traveling a lot, or is it staying at home going fishing? Because that's going to determine what resources they're going to need in retirement. The other part of that is, there's other issues, right? There's long-term care comes into retirement process. Do we want to give, or, do we want to leave a legacy to our kids and our grandkids? That gets built in to a comprehensive retirement strategy. All these little areas are important. Taxes, let's don't forget the government. They want their share of everything. So
yes, they do.
so there are a lot of different segments when we start talking about comprehensive retirement strategies in place. And the income is part of that process. And I would argue maybe even a little bit more important than some of the other strategies, right?
Yeah.
Is making sure we have the income in place. But that's all part of that comprehensive retirement strategy planning process that we have in place there. And if you don't know how much income you're going to have in retirement, then you need to have a retirement income plan in place. To do that, all you have to do is give me a call, 863-285-3815. I'd love to sit down with you, start that conversation, and see if we can't work together to put together a retirement income plan. I'd love to coach you into that process and through it. Give me a call right now at 863-285-3815. Again, that number is 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Phillip Stattler. He is with Statler Financial Services. I'm Jen Rezac alongside. One more question real quick here, Phillip, before we go to our next break. I think what a lot of it boils down to is this. People want protected income because it sounds like a good thing. It sounds good to have your income protected, but we don't always understand how to get it. So how can people learn more about their options for this idea of protected income in retirement?
Well, Jen, you're right. It does sound good, and it is good, right? To have protected income makes a lot of sense. So how do we learn more about it? Well, for us here at Statler Financial, we like to educate people on the whole retirement income planning process, making sure that they understand all the tools that we use to develop that retirement income plan. And we can do that by looking at what they have now. What do you have now? And let's compare that to the tools, other tools that are out there that may make more sense, that may work better for what they're trying to accomplish. And it's just a process, Jen, of education. I love to teach people. It gives me an opportunity to sit down and really explain our process, how we developed it, and what the end result should be. And what we hope to accomplish is that people have that comfort level, that certainty of knowing that their income is taken care of, for the rest of their life. And so to do that, it takes having the right pieces. And part of that is having some protected income for your retirement. And so we help folks look at those options and develop them and put them into the plan so that they can have the retirement they dreamed of.
863-285-3815 is that number again to reach Phillip Stattler at Statler Financial Services. That's 863-285-3815. The Statler Financial Radio Show continues in just a moment. Stay with us.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. If you owe $26.5 trillion and you didn't have the money to pay it off, what would you need to do? Well, you need to make a lot more money, right? Well, now America's debt is more than $26.5 trillion, and right now taxes are at historically low levels. It doesn't take a genius to realize taxes will probably go up. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are low, or later when rates are much higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Phillip Stattler and the team at Statler Financial Services know what to look for. Plan now. Phillip can help you create a plan so your retirement is as tax efficient as possible. Call 863-285-3815 to set up a visit with Phillip Stattler and Statler Financial Services. When taxes go up, will you be ready? 863-285-3815. Advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Statler Financial Services may not give tax advice.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. I am Jen Rezac, happy to be here alongside Phillip Stattler. He's president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And Phillip, you know, there are things you're not supposed to bring up at a dinner party. And I don't know if Joyce has to remind you things. There are times when Jeff and I are going somewhere and I'm like, please don't. Here's a couple things to please not bring up when we get there. And there are a couple topics that are just uncomfortable. You don't even want to talk about them with your kids or your financial professional or your spouse. But these are things that are important to think about as you get close to retirement. So, Phillip, we're just going to have to bite the bullet. We're going to dig into our top 5 for this week. It comes from Forbes. 5 most taboo topics in retirement. So are you ready for this, Phillip?
I think I am. I'm assuming these are things nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to think they even exist, right?
Right. We just want to ignore it, but we have to talk about them. So here we go. Number 5, because we go backwards. We go from 5 down to number 1 on our top 5. Number 5 on our list is your mental health in retirement. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen with people struggling, Phillip, with maybe a loss of identity or isolation after they leave their careers behind, because we identify who we are by our job. It's really hard, isn't it?
We do. That's so true. And so I think that's one of the things that you're right. Nobody wants to talk about that. Where I've seen people that have retired and, within a year, they're in a funk. They just don't really know what to do, or they're unhappy. They think that, okay, I'm going to go back to work. And a lot of them they'll just start to go back to work. But I think back to my uncle. My uncle, he worked, I think he was like 70 or 72 before he finally retired.
Yeah.
This is very true. I see it. I've seen it with some of my uncles. I've seen it with some of my clients. They feel like when they retire, or if they quit working, they're going to die.
Mm-hmm. Gosh.
And I think that weighs on them to keep doing something. And so, and we have this conversation with people with our clients that haven't retired yet, they're starting to work on that. And my question to them is always, okay, so what is your plan to occupy your time when you retire? Because that does become the problem, right? Is now you don't have to get up at 5 o'clock to be at work by 7 or 7:30. So you have no schedule, and that all plays into depression, mental health, that whole thing. And so it's an area that people need to be proactively working against. And the way to do that is not just have a financial plan, but have a time plan. What are you going to do when you retire?
Phillip, let's talk about the next one on our list. We are working our way backwards. So number 4 on our list of taboo topics in retirement is divorce. Over the past 30 years, the divorce rate after age 50 has doubled in the U.S., and this is something that causes emotional and financial upheaval at any time in your life. But talk about the challenges if this happens as you get close to retirement and all of the financial things going on at that time of your life. But
it is difficult no matter when you have a divorce. It's difficult in the family, it's difficult in people involved, but especially heading into retirement or slightly after retirement, because you are a team, and that team, especially if you put together any kind of retirement plan or income plan, it's based on the incomes that are there, and it's based on the two people that are married. And so if we have a divorce, then now we've got to split assets. One spouse, if they're relying just on Social Security, is probably going to have a lot less. So it just is a major upheaval. And then so the other part of that is that there's some things out there that a lot of times people don't think about when it comes to, the husband has, or let's just say one spouse has all the retirement assets in their name, right? They worked, all the IRAs or 401ks are theirs. And you can't split them. A lot of times people think, well, I can't split them without tax consequences, or they don't realize there is a tax consequence if you do split them. So I'll just throw this out there so that people know that there are ways around the taxability of splitting retirement accounts. And it's called a quadro, which stands for Qualified Domestic Relations Order. As a QDRO. And I would say divorce attorneys should be up on this process and availability, and the process now of speaking with somebody that is one of the things that they're looking at. Is they're going to need to they're going through a divorce, they're going to have a quadro, and they're going to have to create some income from that. So it's tough no matter when you do it. In retirement, it's just like been together for so long, and now it's a huge change and a huge obstacle to overcome.
Certainly some tough things to think about here. Talking today with Phillip Stattler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, going through our top 5 list of taboo topics in retirement. 863-285-3815 is the number to call to reach Phillip and the team at Statler Financial Services if you're looking for a little guidance on some of these tough areas of retirement. That's 863-285-3815. Number 3 on the list is religion, and I'll give a quick example of how this might come into play. We won't spend a lot of time on this one, Phillip, but it might not make financial sense for someone to tithe, but it's important for them to give something to their church. How do you handle making financial recommendations while also respecting someone's religious beliefs?
Well, Jen, religion, when it comes to their money, it is one of those fine lines you have to walk. I mean, I know. I mean, we've always believed in tithing and that type of thing for our church, and so I get it. Here's where I've had to have some tough discussions with clients because they're working and all of a sudden they retire, and in retirement, our income declines. And so they want to keep giving at the same level they were when they were working. And that can have a damaging impact to their income plan down the road. Now, it's great for the church or the organization, but it can be detrimental to the retiree. So because here's what they don't realize. Yep, Social Security, that's income. Their pension, if they have a pension, that's income. But that other leg that they're drawing money from, that may or may not actually be income. It could just be savings, right? And so it's kind of like already tax money. It's already tithes money. So, sometimes it's hard to get people to see that and realize that because of the emotional tie there. And so it's something we have to walk carefully through, but as the financial coach, retirement coach, and the fiduciary person in the relationship, I've got to ask the hard questions and walk people through the answer and the impact that that's going to bring to them.
Going down to number 2 on our list of taboo topics. Again, it won't spend a lot of time on this because we just have a few minutes left, but number 2 on the list is relationships. Retirement has an impact on your relationship with your spouse, your kids, your grandkids. How important is it to talk about some of this stuff, Phillip? Setting boundaries when it comes to the time you're going to spend watching the grandkids or how much time you're going to spend with your spouse when you're both home all the time.
That's true. And it's got to be more than conversation. You got to take action, right? So you're right. So if if your family all lives in the same town, then all of a sudden you've retired and now, the grandkids are left at your doorstep all the time for you to take care of and watch. And so your kids can go do whatever. And for a while, right, we love it, right? So, hey, they're our grandkids. We're spending a lot of time with them. And so I get it, but you got to set up some boundaries for what that's going to look like for our kids and grandkids. The other part though, is our spouse. We've been working up until retirement. So we're each away from each other for at least 8-10 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're retired, and now we're spending, a lot more time under the same roof. And that can be challenging. That's why we go back to two before this, divorce, right? So this can be a reason that one pops up at this point in the relationship, is because now we have no diversion. We're together. And so that becomes the problem. And so
Right.
we need to have our time. I tell people, not only do we need an income plan, we need a time plan.
Yeah.
And that's part of what needs to happen there in retirement.
That's right. Working our way through the top taboo topics from Forbes magazine, and number one on the list is money. And Phillip, this is ironic because we talk about it all the time here on this show, but talk about why some people see money as a taboo topic for retirement, and how do you help people get answers when they worry that they're just being nosy, or maybe they're asking the wrong questions when it comes to money in retirement?
Well, think about it this way. Husband and wife. Do they really have that conversation of, do we have enough to retire? Or is it just something we do, right? We're 62, I'm retiring. I'm 67, I'm retiring. Or do we have that discussion? And so nobody wants, or I won't say nobody, a lot of folks don't want to have that discussion of do I have enough, because they're afraid of the answer. And so I think that's a question that more people need to have sooner rather than later. So what's sooner? Well, I'm going to say, man, if you're 50 years old and you've not had that discussion, you've not sat down with a financial professional to say, what am I going to need? You've not put together that financial plan or that retirement plan that at age 50, you need to do that. You need to know how much, what's it look like? What am I going to have at retirement based on what I'm doing now? So that you know that you're ready to retire, that the money is not going to be the issue for not retiring. And so often, we don't want to ask. The kids don't want to ask their parents, are you sure? You're ready to retire. Do you have enough money to retire? Well, kids aren't going to ask their parents that. It's just not going to happen. And so I think that's why money is the number one thing, is because nobody wants to ask the question. Everybody assumes that if you're retiring, that you have enough. And that's not, I can tell you from experience and what I see, that's not always the case. Hey folks, if these top 5 taboos are on your list of things, or if we can help in any other way, that's what we're here for. We are an independent sounding board for you to help you prepare for retirement. Give me a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Give us a call today and let's get started on your retirement.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Remember that number, 863-285-3815. That's all the time we have for this week, but we'll talk to you next time.
If you have a retirement plan and would like a second opinion, call Statler Financial Services today, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful. This radio show is a paid placement.